All right, let's get right into it. We're about to unpack one of the most brilliant strategic deceptions in all of modern history. So picture this. It's been a whole year since the bloody Battle of Sakarya, and this weird, unsettling quiet has fallen over Anatolia. A lot of folks in the European press, they were basically writing off the Turkish army. They thought it was finished, completely exhausted, with no fight left in it. But that quiet? Well, it was a carefully crafted illusion. And the centerpiece? The most important football match you've never heard of. Now, before we get into how this all went down, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell, share, and like my videos. The information in this explainer has been compiled from open sources. Thank you. So, what we're talking about here isn't just military strategy. No, this was psychological warfare, played out on a massive, national scale. Okay, so on July 28, 1922, all the top commanders of the Turkish Western Front gathered in a town called Akşehir. The official story? They're all there for a big football match. You know, the headquarters team versus the Army Corps team. To the public, it just looked like a fun day of sports. And to enemy intelligence, just a harmless distraction. But while all the players were out there kicking a ball around in the dust, the real game was being played that night. See, that's when Mustafa Kemal and his staff were hammering out the final top-secret details for a devastating knockout blow. You gotta love it. Every single pass on that field was a misdirection, and every cheer from the crowd was just cover for the quiet planning that was about to decide the fate of an entire nation. So a month goes by, and then the silence is absolutely shattered. It's 5:30 in the morning on August 26th, and the quiet dawn over a place called Kocatepe just erupts. The enemy had no idea what hit them. They were caught completely off guard. I mean, think about this. They had these fortifications that British engineers swore would take 6 months to get through. They were overrun in a matter of hours. That, right there, is the principle of surprise executed to absolute perfection. And how did they pull off such a brilliant surprise? Well, it was all built on a core military concept called Sıklet Merkezi, which basically means concentration of force. The idea wasn't to spread the attack out. No, the plan was to hit one single spot with so much overwhelming power that the entire enemy line would just crumble like a house of cards. So, when you break it all down, historical analyses show the entire Turkish plan really hinged on these 4 key principles, and they all worked together. You had speed, to take advantage of the breakthrough. You had surprise, to throw the enemy into chaos. You had secrecy, which made the whole thing possible in the first place. And of course, that massive concentration of force to make sure that first punch was a knockout. And the result of this perfectly executed plan? It was absolutely devastating. The Greek front lines didn't just bend, they completely shattered. This was the checkmate. While some Turkish forces kept the enemy busy, penning them down, the main attack force swung all the way around from the south. They completely encircled the Greek 1st and 2nd Army Corps. The trap was sprung. There was literally no way out. And in all that chaos, with the front line just collapsing, the enemy's own commander was captured. But what happens next is what's really fascinating. It tells you just as much about the winner as it does about the win itself. So according to the historian George Garrick, Mustafa Kemal shows this remarkable amount of empathy. Instead of humiliating his defeated opponent, he offered consolation, recognizing the shared experience of a fellow soldier, even in that moment of absolute triumph. But the fight wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. The huge victory at Dumlupınar was actually the signal to kick off the final phase, a non-stop, relentless pursuit all the way to the sea. And just look at this timeline. It really shows you the insane speed of this advance. What happened next was one of the fastest military pursuits in history. We're talking about an army covering almost 450 kilometers in only 15 days. That's just an incredible feat of both endurance and logistics. And you can bet the world was watching this, just completely astonished. The news was spreading like wildfire across Europe. And then, on September 9th, it happened. The Turkish cavalry rode into the port city of Izmir. The war in Anatolia was, for all intents and purposes, over. But see, this lightning-fast campaign did way more than just push an army out of the country. It completely upended the entire political landscape. And that's because, as Mustafa Kemal himself put it, the fighting part was done. Winning on the battlefield was never the final goal. It was the leverage, the bargaining chip they needed to win at the negotiating table. The guns had to fall silent so the diplomats could start talking. And this is just a perfect example of how war and politics are two sides of the same coin. This military success on the ground made the old, harsh Treaty of Sèvres totally worthless. It meant the new Turkish government could walk into negotiations not as a defeated nation, but as a sovereign, victorious power. And that led directly to the Treaty of Lausanne and the birth of the modern Turkish Republic. So that's the key takeaway here, isn't it? The Great Offensive wasn't just about ending a war. It was the armed, bloody, and absolutely brilliant beginning of a brand new nation. It just goes to show how a single decisive campaign, one that started with a secret plan hatched at a football match, can do more than just win a battle. It can literally redraw the map and change a country's destiny forever.